Smoke and Mirrors. This episode is brought to you by fall, that time of year that reminds us that we are all gonna die. And now, here's a song. This is the kind of song that happens when I forget I'm supposed to do a song. This is better than Prince when he's rapping, but I still forgot to make a song. Now here's a song for Smoke and Mirrors and hope that we will get much clearer. So that's the end of the song for now. And here they are, your invenerable hosts, Carlos Kareem Window. And that's how we know we're here. Hey, everybody. It's been quite a weekend. Lots of things have happened, and lots of things have happened since we spoke last. Yay! Uh, I would give anything for a boring couple of days in the news. That would be fantastic. Not that we, this is comedy and culture and bullshit. We don't even do that much news, and yet there's so much news that there's just always news. It's horrible. Hopefully, we won't have to do that much of it today. But tomorrow, we're not going to do any of it because we're going to be in conversation with the one and only Marta Lauchamin, Democratic candidate for Boulder County City Council Chair. And we're going to be talking about voting down the ticket and what the importance of that business is. Hey, guess what? I'm doing stuff not here, away from here. In fact, tomorrow, not tomorrow, I'm sorry, the October the 15th, that's this Thursday, I'm going to be doing a thing for Telltale. This is a little bit of a storytelling. It's going to be happening at 7 p.m. Pacific. I hope you will join us, and we're going to be putting the information around that up there in the chats. And hey, guess what? October the 18th is the day of birth of me. And we are going to make it an official celebration on that Sunday with all of our patrons, one of which you have the opportunity to become one of at Smoke and Mirrors CCB at the Patreon there. And the people who've done that are Ruthie, Erica, Amber, Aaron, Seth, Lisa, Kristen, Renice, Michael, Natalie, Juliet, Tarika, Tracy, and Venus. If you would like to join us in real life Zoom time and having conversations right to my face hole in real time, become a patron. It would be so wonderful if you would consider doing that. And guess what? On October the 25th, Wallace, the band that I'm in, and We Ride, our album, gonna be releasing, gonna be a live stream, social distance, real music, right from the music hole, live, and you can watch it happen when we release our album, and then you can buy it because that's how you support artists. And when you do that, that means we're not going to starve and die, and we can keep making music for you. And I like to, and so do we. So help us out, won't you? Hi. Do you have a warm bevy? I notice in the chats there, both on my page and the Facebook page, and even right now in the YouTubes, you will see the our producer Tracy has put it all up and down in there, and you can find those events. I said that this was not going to be streaming from my page. Sorry, it is. It is. But you know what you could do would be great? If you're watching it from my page, share it from yours. That would be great. Share it from yours. Or like it on mine. Make a watch party on yours. That would also be great. The reason that didn't happen is because I've been doing events since yesterday and having a really good time doing them as well. What we did yesterday is the Get Down, the Healing Revolution Get Down. I will be presenting a public workshop engagement, I like to call it, based on that. That will be around the hammer with which we shape reality. And that's going to be about art and public art and private art and the importance of having art that is private. It's for you. It's not necessarily for public, but where it comes from whence it is born, and the politic of that. We're going to be doing some journaling. It's going to be really dope, and I hope that you will register when the registration is made available. It is available at Subduction Consulting right now. I'll tell you more about that later, and we'll get into that a different time. We'll get more into that. So many different things that I would like to talk about today, and going to line them up over here, and going to do that. Going to talk about some things. Do you have a warm bevy? Trying to get my fucks on. Not like that. Still in isolation. My betrothed is doing the production from far, far away. But beloved, betrothed, I don't know. Betrothed is married? I don't know what those words mean. Tracy's not here. I'm here. Tracy's producing in Oakland. We're doing the thing. Try to replenish your fucks. Have one to give. Young people, we know you still have some to give. Here's some things that I do give fucks about when I have a little bit in the bank. Some of them are embarrassing, some are not. And I'm going to talk about them now. Here we go. One is that the Lakers are the world champions of the NB to the A. That is absolutely thrilling, very exciting. I am thrilled to know it. Let's see. I would like to very quickly also acknowledge another NBA champion in the Seattle Storm, the other NBA champion, and in fact, the first NBA champion. The Storm became champions before the Lakers became champions just last night. So shout out to the WNBA, since they're the ones who are the reasons that we have as much pro-Black political awareness and Black Lives Matter awareness within the NBA, even though most NBA owners are still donating to Republican causes that go directly against the wishes of the workforce, which is primarily all Black. Also, shout out to the NBA for virtue signaling. Want to give them a shout out for virtue signaling. White people, you know about this. Ladies with the pink hats, you know about this. This is when you pretend you're going to make a political stance or statement, and you don't really do it, but maybe you do it in clothes. Adam Silver and the NBA have announced that they are going to be removing the phrase Black Lives Matter from the basketball courts. Now that the bubble has ended, now that LeBron James, one of the players who was reticent about going into the bubble in the first place, who was willing to strike to forego his fourth NBA championship, was willing to stay in the bubble, was willing to make his family suffer so that he could play basketball for the entertainment of white people. The thing that got them back on the court after all of the multiple and horrific murders of Black people by unarmed police since we've been in COVID, and of course the murderers of Breonna Taylor, was to get that on the court and to get their names off their jerseys and to put phrases like this one there, which the NBA is now opting to take off of the court for next season, because in Adam Silver's words, I understand some people just want to watch basketball. Well, also what happened is that Kamala Harris won a debate. So that's exciting. She handily won a debate by answering questions, by being forthright, by looking into the camera, by telling only a minimal number of lies, which is the most we can expect from any presidential or vice presidential candidate, I think, at this point. And also by not having a fly land on her head and stay there for 2 minutes while she was lying about her views on racial justice in the United States. That same driving force that is the one that got Black Lives Matter put on the basketball courts in the NBAs. Of course, as we said, by the Storm, and then the boys followed suit, and they got to do it bigger because the boys have all the financing, whether or not they have the most loyal fans or whether or not they have the best players, whatever. Hey, we do though have a little bit of footage of Pence in the debate. Can we go to that real quick? Can we cut to that? Ew. Oh, gross. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. The only other thing that their team did pull off this weekend is that the president declared himself immune from coronavirus, but also pulled out of the debate that would have been happening this Wednesday to instead spread coronavirus, as he did, seen here, in his home theater production of Don't Cry for Me, Alabama, from the new musical Covita. There is no way all those people just had blue shirts and hats like that. Those are paid actors. This is propaganda. And you also are not supposed to have events like this on White House property, because that means that taxpayers are now paying for your rally, which you're not supposed to be having because you have COVID, you dumb bag of hate and jizz. So that's fun. That also happened. It's a distressing time. Right now, there are so many different things happening. And that's just a little recap on some of the ones that we missed since we saw each other last. Please be here when Marta is here in conversation with us tomorrow. There's a whole different thing that, even with all of that, in the age of Rona, a whole different thing I want to talk about. And it's not even how on the nose Rona is. I mean, given that this is what's happening at the White House, the fact that God has no sense of humor at all to be able to bring us irony, and is instead just bringing us direct things that seem to be out of a playbook of somebody. You couldn't pitch it, right? The rabid raccoon who's attacking reporters on the White House lawn now at night. You couldn't have suggested that was going to happen. It's not looking good for the camp. Hey, look at this. Huh? What? We were looking for you. We were looking for you there, Bo. How you doing? How you been? Good to see you. Yeah, no, this whole thing is a lot. It's a lot. And the thing is that it's not the only place where the political theater is turning into political reality. And so let's use our old friend, the flux capacitor. Again, for those of you who are new or didn't see when we did this bit of a segment the last time, it's using a bit of a socio-political flux capacitor to look at the trisection of race, class, and gender, and how those three actually, if you use those to examine and go into the past, you can find out how it is you ended up where you are and make some choices that would reverse engineer that going forward. So let's take a trip with the flux capacitor today and see where that lands us. And we're here at April the 17th, 2020. Only 3 days after tax day. Hey, if you got a tax day extension, don't forget, due date is coming up on the 15th. April 17, your president said, and I quote, liberate Michigan. And Michigan tried to follow their orders. You do remember that this is the same man who said, stand back and stand by. Well, when he said liberate Michigan, some people who really wanted to go to a gym to pump each other and get haircuts took their guns to do some I don't know what you would call it except for militia cosplay, or as we might otherwise call it, white supremacist domestic terrorism. They did that and ran up onto the Capitol steps, you may remember, with their guns and their threats and screaming at cops and being allowed to take their guns with them, because guns are allowed in the foyer of and on the deck of the Capitol in Michigan. I don't know if you know this. Michigan has a great proliferation of these things that the media is still calling militias. They are not. Did you hear the ice melt? A militia is well trained, well armed, and government sponsored. Now, they are well armed. This is true. They arm themselves. They are government sponsored only in that the president supports them. They are not trained within an inch of their life. What they did do is try to take their little goofy cosplay into real life world, and when they did, they took one of their shithole death threats into action in trying to kidnap, have a trial for, then likely execute Governor Whitmer, seen here, with her signer, who is clearly taking no shits and giving no fucks. Clearly a person deeply, wrong hand, that doesn't, blew the joke, deeply in need of a fuck. Not that way, fucks to give, because there are no fucks left to give. And the point being, fuck y'all. Your hate will not succeed here. When Whitmer had the audacity to point out that perhaps this was exacerbated and instigated by impeached rapist President Donald Trump, he took back to Twitter to suggest that perhaps it would have been more polite for her to thank the federal government, the FBI, which right now is at odds with Trump and the Trump administration, including the Proud Boys and the militia boys who tried this bullshit, to get them contained. That while he is at odds with them, while he dismantled and defunded a program that was meant to work with white supremacists in prison and help them be de-escalated and detrained to be brought into humanity to fight their whiteness, while he is fighting the very idea of ethnic studies, the very idea of there being diversity training, sensitivity training at the workforce, at the governmental level, especially the federal and in any educational institution. While this dickhead is doing all of that, he is simultaneously and concurrently saying that he is not encouraging white supremacists. What? Good people on both sides. This is this guy. Well, there is an outcome, because the folks we know who upset Governor Whitmer's sign language professional here is the INCEL-errection. if you will. Now, I had a thing about referring to these white supremacist cosplayers because really what they're doing is LARPing. It's live action role play as incel, because I don't know if you know what that means. It means involuntary celibate, right? And my hypothesis had been that the celibacy is quite voluntary, because they were only short of perhaps a book and a breath mint to become, and a shower, to become uh, uh, sexually desirable beings. Aside from which, we live in a world in which there are sex workers, people who you could pay actual cash money, who would be very happy to go ahead and have sex with you. Yes. Although there is also this mythology based on white supremacy that somehow the sex workers don't respect themselves. Well, they do. It's just that when you say bullshit like that, we know that you don't respect them, much like you don't respect yourself when you call yourself involuntary celibates. Again, so I thought until I saw what they look like. Now, this is they. And, hey, holy shit, we're all wrong sometimes. Sometimes we're all wrong. I said that these folks were perhaps celibate, but that perhaps that celibacy was not completely a voluntary matter. I'm sorry, completely an involuntary matter. I'm going to go ahead and suggest that maybe I don't know them as well as they know them. Do you know that old phrase, when someone tells you about themselves, believe them? This is going to be one of those instances where I think it's worth believing them. Now, what is unfortunate is that along with not actually procuring the trade of sex workers, and thereby denying jobs, which, how does that make America great again? Thank you very much, dum-dums. They might be too broke to break it. Perhaps Trump's economy breaked their pocketbooks and they could not break off what it would cost to make it rain in order to do what is necessary to relieve themselves of the tension that makes them feel like wearing a mask on their faces to prevent their own deaths is somehow taking their liberties. And again, not being able to go to the gym to pump themselves and each other. Which, again, no kink shaming. No kink shaming. The other thing that they never thought of before issuing this death threat was going and fucking themselves, going and fucking each other. Both perfectly legitimate options that should have been on the table the whole time. Go fuck yourselves. That would take care of the involuntary celibacy. I'm just saying. I just want to put that out there as a possible. Death threats are very scary, and it's true that it's happening with an increasing rate, not just to public figures, although to some, but also to local public figures. I want to shout out the folks. Some folks have been getting unnecessary death threats recently. Here in Portland, I want to shout out every Black Lives Matter activist, organizer, and marcher who has gotten a death threat, either directly or indirectly. This includes the phone calls that are so scary, being doxxed. That is never a fun experience. Groups of Proud Boys coming after you and telling you that they're gonna do this, that, and the third to you, or posing the question to a broader community: what are you going to do about this person? They're causing ruckus and they are an outside agitator to your community. I see you. I thank you for staying steadfast. I thank you for screwing your courage to the sticking place. And I thank you for continuing in spite of these death threats that have been coming your way. If I'm aware of these, and I am telling you about these publicly now, just know, folks under the philosopher's tree, these are real things that are happening. If I'm not telling you the names of the people, the organizers themselves, or the activities that they're doing that are receiving such death threats from the white supremacists, believe it's because I don't want for the white supremacists to watch this and think that maybe they got to make their threat come true to somehow prove that they're a man to the other Proud Boys. That would be horrible, and I want no parts of it. Also, shout out to the Proud Boys for the rebranding that they did this weekend. I don't know if you're aware, but a lot of people saw that the Proud Boys were calling themselves Proud Boys, and some of the more gay people who are also boys, who are also very proud and proud of being out, and given that it was just National Coming Out Day, were geared up to do so, were sharing pictures of themselves in their pride and calling themselves Proud Boys, reclaiming the name, and it was super cute. Also, they took back the name because the Proud Boys got embarrassed and they changed their name and to the very, very intelligent and very wise Leathermen. Yup. I'm not joking. The Proud Boys just renamed themselves the Leathermen because they were being trolled by gay men reclaiming the name Proud Boys. Oh, again, it's too on the nose. I don't know what joke to write out of that. Leather daddies, conduct yourselves accordingly. Internets, do what you do. Take a photo, tag it, post it. I guess it would be hashtag Leathermen or hashtag Leather Daddies. Ugh, these, maybe leather would be the thing. Maybe leather would be the thing that would get them over the top. Maybe that would be the thing that would get them over the hump or into the hump, as the case may be. I don't know what it is exactly that they're after. I would also like to point out just one thing. 2 of these are former ex-Marines who were dishonorably discharged, and one of them is a Caleb. Calebs are just the worst, and while it is not their own doing, only white people can stop white people from making Calebs. Please stop it. Please stop it. It's not fair to Caleb's. What did they ever do to you? That could have been a very normal person. That could have been a very good guy. If you were going to make them a guy, if you were going to keep them in the binary like that, they could have been somebody great like Bo. I don't know. Could have been. Could have been. I don't know. Death threats are super scary. Also, shout out to my folks in Colorado. This weekend, there was a socialist group who did a book drive, a BLM book and soup drive, where they offered soup and offered books. And when they offered those soups and they offered those books, they were met in the streets by riot police, fully armed and locked and loaded, and since have been getting death threats. The organizers have, because of course you would want to threaten people who bring books and soup to the party. As we know, Donald Trump has let us know that the BLM organizers and activists, protesters in the street, are just gallivanting about the street looking to do damage with bags and bags of soup. And of course, they would like for the AG to prosecute them, but I think that they're going to have a very difficult time because for them to prosecute these folks for disseminating and distributing books, they would have to be able to prove that they are, in fact, books. And I don't know that they will be able to do that. You would have to have seen one in the wild, and there's no evidence that the Republican Party or any member of it has. Very old joke by some comedian whose name I don't remember. I think his name was Bruce or something. He had a big cigar and a mustache. He talked about dumb people, in particular Texans. In that case, not Texan politicians, not the populace. We love you, the populace. Not recognizing books because you don't read them is the point of the joke. I didn't write it. It's a little bit elitist. I didn't write it. Death threats are super scary. And I do recognize that. But there's a way, I think, that we need to be able to look at these things that I'm looking for a transition page. I apologize. That we don't enough. And that is to celebrate. To celebrate them. Because the thing is, until and unless you are receiving actual death threats or threats of your economy being interfered with, you don't really know what you're made of. And if you stay with it, even if it is just one little I wish you would die, it's going to get more and more loud, bigger and bigger. And the more effective you are, the louder you can hear those voices to show up, right? Which is why it would make a lot of sense that if what we're distributing is information and edibles, we're going to find that the threat against that from the state is even louder, because the state, we know this, is not looking for an educated populace. They're looking for a compliant populace. And if you're distributing books that explain why you might not need to be compliant, and maybe, I don't know, a little bit of chunky soup that you can digest and have a num-num while you're doing it so that your brain is working right. That's not a thing the government wants. We do know that it was the Black Panther Party that did free food distribution, primarily the men's, because women were doing the planning of most of the things that were happening. That's the reason that we have federal food distribution programs that are continuing now, even under COVID, especially these federal lunches. So anything that costs the government money, they don't want to do, which is why the federal lunches that our kids are getting, mine included, are shit. They could invest in our kids the same way that they invest in the military. They choose not to. They choose not to. Now, the fact that the schools are not federally run, that they're run off of this false elitism, right? This false meritocracy that's about whether or not your school and your district is funded by the taxes that come from the houses. And now people who live in the fancy houses, or even the fanciest people who live in your regular neighborhoods, are sending their kids over to their fucking private schools and over to these little select schools. That means there's no tax money. They don't want to pay taxes for your kids to go to school. So, that little itty bitty bit of tax money, the revenue that comes from the taxes charged for property taxes, which is not enough to do shit, which is why you need these covens of parents who are doing that witch's brew to have a PTA and get enough funding so that you can have the cool school uniforms, have the school theater. That's what the fundraisers are for. Have books if necessary. You've lost that whole workforce when you're setting up a system like this, right? So if you set that up, your state, your federal government are going to respond thusly to the idea of distributing books and free information. Information is not free in a consumer capitalist society. It's not for free. It's not open source, right? And when we hear the death threat, we get scared. The idea is that we get scared and we stop doing things like this. Here's the thing. These Denver socialists figured out a thing about that. You just make it more and more fun. They were already being threatened when they started doing this. That's why they started doing it. It's fun. It's cute. It's a troll. You can have fun, cute trolls when those come. One of the lessons, this is a lesson that was taught to us again by the leadership of the most impacted who got through their impact, got to a place of using that as a tool to move us forward through this via the socio-political flux capacitor. That is historian and auntie of the revolution, also lawyer of the Black Panther Party, Auntie Angela Davis, who was one of the FBI's 10 most wanted, made that list, made it to court. And as a consequence of that, if you go to her office now in at UC Santa Cruz, where she is teaching, I believe, something in I want to say astronomical humanity or something. I don't know. I don't know what it's called. It's dope though. I know what it's called normally. I just forgot. It's in my MS hole. This is hanging in her office if you are lucky enough to ever get to do office hours. And this is the poster from her her time spent on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. If we celebrate this and make these things and events badges of honor, it decreases and takes away the power that the state or the bully or the feds or the Leathermen or the Little Proud Boys or whoever it is might be trying to put forward on top of us. And so I would encourage all of my people out there who ever find themselves under surveillance. What? Surveilled by the state, by somebody doxing you. Celebrate that. If they send you direct threats, document that, not only so that you can give it to the FBI and have them prosecuted, just like the INCEL-errection boys here, right? But so that you can actually have it for yourself and you can keep it for yourself. And when I say all of this, much like Auntie Angela, Auntie Carlos is saying this to you from a place of experience. I've been doxxed. I have received the death threats. This time around, I'm doing pretty good. But as we've talked about in the past, I have made differences in some institutions in my life. One of those is the University of Colorado at Boulder. I did not do it alone. I did it with a commanding group of young people known as the Alliance. And we together did some brilliant things where we were able to establish ethnic studies as a field of study, something that Donald Trump does not like and is saying is illegal, signing all sorts of executive orders, as we talked about at the beginning of the segment today, and created a bachelor's, a major, a minor, master's, and most recently PhD program in ethnic studies, as well as a department. I can't imagine that any of that is going to suddenly be dismantled because Trump doesn't like it. That's dumb. And during that time, and once we succeeded, and once the efforts of myself and the other organizers were being recognized, I was one of the key organizers. There were some key recognitions I was given. One of those was an Excellence in Equity Award by the university. Cute idea, cute name. I have a letter from the president that says I got it. There was never an award associated. I'd never held anything, but like I got one, and that's nice. But the thing that was more rewarding was when I got my own death threat, which I want to add to our gallery. You may have seen it back there hiding earlier. I forgot to take it down. We were going to do a whole thing around it, but I framed it, and this is a threat that came against me in particular at that time. I do see that it's a little shiny and hard to see with the glare. Let me see if I can bring it in a little closer for you there. See if we can do this any better. There you go. Is this what you call diversity? Was the question. Now, what they did, this is in the days before Photoshop. So what they did is they took this over to Kinko's there, and you can see on the top over here, over my photo, is the name of an op-ed that I used to run, and the name of a particular one, the title of one. There's no way that Reverend Farrakhan could be racist. Now, this was an op-ed about the definition of the word racist and whether or not somebody without institutional power could actually engage in racism or just racial bigotry. And I used Louis Farrakhan as an example. On the other side of this is a thing about Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam claim they're moving toward moderate tolerance. You decide. But then an article about Khalid Muhammad, who was not, in fact, Louis Farrakhan, and in the 1990s was a bit of a provocateur who was not with the Nation of Islam at all. I myself am not Islamic. I have never been. I'm not Muslim. I have very little to do with any of it. I was talking about race. Over my face, what it said is the Nation of Islam has been having recruitment meetings on your campus, funded by your tuition. What? Neither of those was ever true. The question remains: did Carlos Wyndham arrange it? And what are you going to do? None of these is a new tactic. It is scary, but it is to be celebrated because that's when we know that we're truly making a difference. And so, though I spoiled the surprise earlier, we are going to go ahead and put this right back where it was, right back on the wall, and in the wall of fame. Let's stick it here, right there. Got the hook there already. Beautiful. Get it straight. And that will go directly under our original print. This machine kills fascists. Again, dedicated to the restoration, hopefully, of postal services. At least that's what the federal judges say. We'll see what Louis DeJoy, the AG, and the president and the Leather Boys do about it together. But that is the intent, because despite what Adam Silver might say, despite what President Trump may say, ethnic studies does matter. Black studies do matter. Black lives do matter. And being doxxed, receiving a death threat for doing the work of justice and the work, in particular, white folks, I'm looking at you, of being a race traitor, that's what we need. We are no longer in the business of needing any more allies or accomplices. We need you to earn your very own doxing, and that's going to be something to be proud of. Don't be an Adam Silver. Hey, do me a favor, would you? Could you go to Free the Vote if you have not already? That is an organization that is restoring the voting rights of Floridians who have been given their voting rights back by the Supreme Court of Florida. And they are now trying to stop that from going into action by the voters of Florida. I'm sorry. The Supreme Court of Florida is trying to stop that from going into action by creating new poll charges. So what's happening is people's fines, those who are formerly incarcerated, are being paid off by the folks so that they will actually be able to vote. And that can be done at We Got the Vote, WEGOTTHEVOTE.org/free the vote. Please go there. Help folks free the vote. Let's make this happen. This has been another another episode of Smoke and Mirrors. Hey, would you like to see what we're doing there on the IG? Go ahead and go look. That's a Smoke and Mirrors CCB. That's for comedy and culture and bullshit. Would you like to see some of my thoughts before they actually get all the way to being here? Well, you can see some of those on Twitter at Caballo Negrito. And if you have a thought, suggestion about something we should be saying or should not be saying here at Smoke and Mirrors, please feel free to send that to smokeandmirrorsccb@gmail.com. This is an event that is hosted and produced by myself, Carlos Kareem Wyndham. This is produced by Tracy Tatamy. Would you please do me a favor? Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Stay inside. If you come, get back inside. Wash your hands. If you go outside, wear a mask and do all of those things, not because it's a political statement, it's simply because we want to see you here again. And the only reason we want to see you here again is because we love you. Hey, if you're over there on the YouTube, do the YouTube thing. Smash like, hit the button. I don't know what that is. If you're on Facebook, hey, go to the group page, Smoke and Mirrors. Become a member. I love you. I'll see you here tomorrow. I'm going to be talking to Marta. It's going to be good. Goodbye.